Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to this video today. Today is an exciting day because this is a video captured on my Xbox Series X, which has been a long time in the making, and I'm super excited to be here. Before I dive into it real quick, though, I just want to say I looked at my phone and realized today is Veterans Day, 11/11, so a thank you to anyone who is a veteran, anyone who has fought to give us what we have. You know, even if you're not from the United States, you know, you think that the people who sacrificed their lives and gave their lives during some of the big wars to make sure that you can have the freedoms that you have and the safety that you have, just it's a thank you to them. So just think about that today. And you know, we forget about that. You know, every year Call of Duty comes out right around this time, and you know, everybody gets out and they wanted to go do this war stuff and go shoot each other and stuff, and you watch movies that are all about war, and it's, you know, it's cool and whatever else, but you know, you forget that there's actual humans that have died in these conflicts, you know, and it sort of desensitizes you a little bit. So just don't forget that. Anyway, so this is a video on Warzone. So I got my Series X. There's a video. My last video I put up was discussing how I got it, how I waited in line at the GameStop for hours in the early morning to get it, just to get the pre-order. But today was the day I actually picked it up, and super excited. So I'd played a few games of Warzone before this, so when I didn't hear the box right there, I was like, oh, I just need to pass on. And then I saw this guy, started pistoling him. He had a shotgun, so I tried to back up the stairs, but it didn't work, so I just pushed forward, thinking I would surprise him on the edge. I kind of hit the railing as I backed up. Was going to have the high ground, but then I decided to push forward and surprise him. You know, he wasn't going to be expecting me to be there on the corner, which is exactly what happened. And I pretty much couldn't have been closer to death right. Ooh, excuse me, I'm sorry. I couldn't have been any closer to death right there. So that's just kind of what happened. So I got my Series X. I did not pick it up right at the beginning of the morning. I had a bunch of stuff going on today, which is you know, I don't know if that's a turning point for me or what, but, you know, it's kind of I kind of mentioned, it seemed like a sad day, you know, that the Series X I've been waiting for all this time had to take a back seat to some real adult responsibilities, but you know what, I guess that's kind of what happens in life, isn't it? So, got it around like 7 o'clock, 7 or 7:30 tonight, and came home and set it all up and started to play, and I wasn't really sure what I wanted to play. And so I got everything set up. It was real quick to set up. And you can actually, the cool thing is, I heard someone talk about how you set it up on your app. So you can set it up through the Xbox app, which I thought sounded like a stupid gimmick. And even when I was doing it, I was like, I'm just going to skip this. But what I didn't realize is it's actually extremely, extremely efficient the way it works on the app. Because what happens is you fire up the console, and of course there's that day one update. It wasn't very big. It was, you know, like less than a gigabyte or less. But what happens is you set up the console and you start downloading the update, and then you can actually use the app to set up all the settings and everything while you're waiting for the update to download. So by the time the update's done, it's just boom, you're in and you're at home and you can fire up the game right away, which was actually really sick. Super efficient way to do it. And, you know, kind of just reminded me, that's kind of the difference between like the Sony and the Microsoft approach right now. You know, and that's sort of the level that Microsoft is going to try to, you know, get this stuff dialed in so you can really just, you know, never have any downtime, which I think is cool. And it actually worked out super well. So I was trying to figure out what to play, and I decided I would start with this because I knew that Forza 7, which is what I've been playing tons of. In fact, when I just offloaded my capture hard drive, which I connect to my Xbox to capture all my footage on, it was just unbelievable amounts of, I mean, it was like a terabyte or like 3/4 of a terabyte of just Forza racing footage, just random races that I don't remember, and just, I mean, dozens and dozens, and I mean, probably 50 or 60 races. So I knew that would be basically the same because that's a 3-year-old game, and I knew that there probably wouldn't be too many changes to that. So I figured, hey, I'll try and fire up Warzone, kind of see how that goes. Also because I want to notice the latency on the controller. You know, that's one of the biggest deals that they've talked about with the Xbox, the Xbox Series X and S, is that they sort of redid the whole controller stack, you know, kind of start to finish. I can't remember if they called it dynamic latency input or whatever they called it, but basically what they're saying is that they took out a large percentage of the delay that there is and the feedback time, you know, from you pressing a button to the thing actually happening on screen. They really focused on redoing everything, hardware and software, to sort of optimize that so that it felt more responsive. And so that was why I wanted to do this, is because, you know, this is like the ultimate responsive type of game. You know, you'd notice it right away. And even though I haven't played it, I mean, I've played 12 hours total of Warzone. You know, I'm somebody who put in 25 days into the multiplayer of Call of Duty every single year for many years. So the fact that I only have 12 hours in Warzone and it's been out for, you know, whatever, 8 months, 6 months, 7 months is pretty lame. But it's just, I haven't enjoyed it. You know, I stopped playing Battle Royale last year, or I guess earlier this year with Blackout. I just stopped playing it, and you know, it doesn't do it for me. So this was hilarious the way this happened. So I just decided to play this first. I've played it a couple of times recently with a friend of mine who, you know, just kind of found it. And that's what happens with these free-to-play games. You know, obviously I bought the game, and I played through the campaign and loved that. And I played some of the multiplayer, and that was kind of fun, I guess. But, you know, he discovered it recently, and so we have played it a few times. And so I had this sort of, you know, idea of like, oh, okay, I guess it's kind of fun in these little, like, you know, hour to hour and a half that we play and then give it up, because I don't want to play it for long periods of time. So this is what I fired up, and immediately, you might see it in here. Since this was like a couple games in, you might not see it as much, but right away I noticed a difference. Now, there is a high resolution texture pack that you can download for the Xbox Series, and apparently it's available for Xbox One X, which means that I've been playing Warzone this whole time without the high-res texture pack, although, to be honest, I guess it could have just come out recently. But so I started downloading that, and I just thought, well, I'll play it while I'm waiting for it to download. That way I can kind of get an idea for it. And it felt so much better right away. I don't know what it is. I'll kind of get into it here in a second, but it felt so good. The controller, you know, the controller is cool. It's a little bit smaller, just by a little bit. Like, if you looked at it, you probably wouldn't notice it was smaller. Even if you looked at them side by side, you might have a hard time telling that it's a slightly smaller. But it actually is smaller enough that it makes a difference, and it just feels like a little bit different in my hands. I mean, of course, if you're more like a casual player, you're not going to notice that, but, you know, as someone who is anything but a casual player for a very long time, I noticed it, and it was bugging my hand a little bit, because my hand was cramping up a little bit because it's just a little bit smaller. But other than that, it feels really good. The commitment I made to myself is, you know, I have the Elite controller, which I think is one of the best controllers ever made. And so the commitment I made to myself was, I'm going to use the new controller that came with the Series X until the batteries die, and then I'll make up my mind about whether I like it or not. So that should give me like maybe a week, depending on how much I play. Although I guess Call of Duty comes out on Thursday night, so I guess I'll actually be playing. It probably won't last me this week, but I'll make a determination on that later. And actually, the best part so far about the controller is the share button, which I thought was also a gimmick, but you can actually remap it to whatever you want as far as sharing. So what I did is I actually remapped it to start recording and stop recording, which, you know, to you guys who don't record anything on the game DVR, that sounds like a joke, but it's unbelievably helpful, because right now I have to go guide button, right bumper, down one, press A to start recording. And then, you know, I mean, I can do something kind of similar to stop recording, but that's how I have to start recording. So, like, if I'm waiting in a lobby of Forza and the race is about to start and I realized I forgot to start counting, then start recording, that's pretty much it. I'm not going to record, because I don't have time to get into those menus and do that. Now, on this console, the menus and everything are so snappy, I might have time. But the share button just allows me to literally push it once and it starts recording. So I can literally be sitting at the starting line, and the starting timer on Forza can be like 3, 2, and then I just press the button, and then I just go, and it's not a big deal, which is super handy. And already, because of that, I'm already a little wary about going back to my Elite controller just because of that. But other than that, the Elite controller feels a lot better. For those of you that have used it, it's metal, it's solid, and it just feels super premium, and it feels really sturdy. Oh yeah. I see, I was like, oh yeah, and then I go, oh no, it only said down, so he's down there somewhere. So he's self-reviving down there. I can't really see him, which is kind of bad. I should have started shooting earlier, but didn't really want to give away my position. But, you know, of course the new controller is plastic, just like the other ones, so it's got a little bit of rattle to it, and it, you know, it's just doesn't feel as nice as the Elite controller. But, so when I got in the game, it was like, immediately everything just felt crispy and nice, and it just felt, I don't know, it just felt good. Crazy snipe right there. Took me 3 shots, but it just felt good. And I actually thought right away that it was 120 hertz because I went in and changed the settings so that it could, so that the Xbox could display at 120 hertz, which is 120 frames per second. But Warzone, I don't think is 120 FPS. I guess I could be wrong, but it just felt so good and felt so smooth that I thought, man, this must be 120 hertz. And I just wasn't sure. Because I've played enough Warzone to know that it immediately was way smoother. So yeah, so on top of that, you know, the controller and everything's all updated, and the latency is all updated, so it does feel a lot snappier to play. And you know, you'll notice I'm kind of, I don't know the right word, I'm not very smooth with my movements right now as far as looking around, because I was just sort of in awe of how smooth it was. So I was just pushing the stick fully left, fully right, just doing these big long drags as opposed to just kind of being precise with my aiming. And I just wanted to see, you know, what it felt like. And I couldn't believe it. It felt ridiculous. It felt so good. So really there's 2 possibilities. Either Warzone is playing at a higher frame rate, which, you know, I couldn't find anything. I mean, it's only been 24 hours, so I couldn't find anything about whether or not that's a thing or whether that's possible. I mean, it's certainly possible, but I haven't decided. I haven't found out if that's a thing yet. The other alternative is that the other game, like playing on the One X or the other ones, was so sub 60 FPS that this is just complete locked 60 and it just feels ridiculously good. So, I mean, I suppose that's a possibility. I thought I heard something over here, or saw something on the radar when I popped that UAV, and then I was just trying to find the guy over here. But, yeah, it is possible that the regular version of the game, not this non-new gen stuff, is running so bad that this just felt that much better. I mean, it's possible, but this just felt really smooth, like extremely smooth. There were no drops at all, and it just felt good. And on top of that, like I said, on top of being really smooth and looking really clean and clear, the controller just felt more alive, I guess you could say. And that's, you know, and I'm assuming this is only at 60 frames, so I can only imagine how much better it'll feel at 120 frames, be even that much more alive, that much more responsive. But it felt awesome. And so I don't know how much of a part that played in this game, because I end up winning this game, which is pretty unbelievable. Considering I haven't played Battle Royale in, you know, 8 months. Yeah, probably 7 or 8 months I haven't played Battle Royale. And even before that, I wasn't really playing it regularly since probably last year. Since actually right before this game came out. You know, when Modern Warfare came out is kind of when I stopped playing it. So it's been a year since I regularly played Battle Royale. And it was pretty crazy to say that I win. And one of the guys at the end was saying to me, because I got the snipe right at the end. It was kind of like a quick snipe. And he said, I can't believe you got that snipe before the airstrike. And I thought he was talking to someone else because I was kind of listening, and I was just, you know, in the moment, like my heart was racing, and I was like, dude, I won a game. You know, I was trying to sound like I've been there before, you know, like trying not to sound like an absolute noob to all these guys who are just made it to the top 10. And I'm like, yee, I won a game, like freaking out like a 13-year-old or something. But then I realized he was talking to me because I watched the footage back, and I mean, I'm not joking when I say it was a half of a second between the time that I pulled the trigger and he died and the airstrike exploded at my feet, which is actually pretty crazy. So that was pretty sweet. But overall, the Series X feels great. I'll start with well, it's virtually silent. I have a stereo that I use. I connect it to my music so that it can go off with my alarm clock in the morning. And in order to make that work, I have to leave the stereo on. And the speakers have a very, very faint hum when they're turned on. Those of you who've turned your car, left your car stereo on with the aux cord or whatever, and didn't turn it off, you'll know what I'm talking about. But it's like this real faint sort of humming noise, and that was all I heard in my room. I literally could not hear the console. I was playing Warzone, and the console was so silent that I was hearing the faint hum of the speakers on a stereo that was turned on with nothing playing more than I was hearing the console, which is pretty ridiculous, to say the least. I did put it in the vertical position, so I got a little table that I set up next to my TV stand because my stand's not big enough to hold this also. So I got a little matching table, and it's upright, so vertical position, and it sounds like it's completely silent. It's completely silent. Now, of course, these aren't games that are really pushing it very hard. I mean, you can play this game on a 1.5 teraflop original OG Xbox, and this console has 12.5 teraflops or whatever. So, it's obviously not even breaking a sweat, but it's just absolutely silent, which is pretty cool. So, the startup makes the same sound. That's a little disappointing. I was kind of expecting some cool sound, but it makes the same sound. Which I guess makes sense because they're trying to connect all these Xboxes together and make them all kind of like one family. The cold boot is pretty quick. It's about twice as fast as the current cold boot for the Xbox One X, which is what I'm going to be comparing to because that's what I've used and that's what I've played most recently. I really have not played a One S in a couple years. It's been 3 years since I played a One S. But enemy UAV overhead. The cold boot's about twice as fast as the One X, and then the quick resume or instant on. So if you have the instant on, which I turned it on, it's virtually instant. It's actually crazy. I mean, it's so fast it pretty much can't be faster. Like you press the guide button, and you hear the bookit, and it's there. It's at the home dashboard, just like that. I mean, pretty much as fast as actually possible from the time the beep goes off on the console, you're at the home screen already. It's there. It's instant. And, of course, what I'm saying is, like, when you press the guide button on the controller, it takes a second for the controller to communicate with the console and turn it on. But as soon as you hear the console on noise, it's on. That's it. You're at home and you can do stuff. It's very fast. Now, I have an NVMe SSD in my computer that's about the same speed as the one in the Series X. So I figured, I figured, like all these talks with Sony about like instant loading and all that stuff. I know from experience, and I know for a fact that's pretty much not possible. So I wasn't expecting it to be like that. I mean, I was expecting it to be fast, but not that fast. I mean, it is quite literally as fast as it could be, which is pretty gnarly. Again, that's in the instant on mode. And the cold boot, it does take about 5 to 7 seconds or whatever to turn on. But the instant on, it turns on pretty much immediately. And navigating the dashboard is really quick. So, obviously moving tiles and whatever, that's pretty... Look at this kill. Can you believe that? You're losing ground. I saw him, and I did the typical, like, Call of Duty maneuver of, like, jump, turn, and, like, offset. And I somehow killed him. I mean, he just walked up on me. This whole time I've been sitting on this roof, I've been thinking to myself, some guy's going to come up because I don't have any sort of claymores or protection or anything. And I don't even know this game well enough to know where they could come from or if there are ways to get up here without coming up through a door or whatever. But so, obviously moving between tiles and whatever, like moving from... one game to like the YouTube app or like moving over to settings or whatever. That stuff is not really any faster necessarily. But going from like, going down, like where you go to like the store and then you go to like the featured games and like the entertainment app and like that kind of stuff, that's pretty much instant, which is not the case on the One X. It's pretty much instant. And then, when you click on like games and apps, it's pretty much instant. Yeah, I mean, I guess the settings and stuff are a little bit faster, But those were already, fast, so it's kind of hard to tell the difference there. But yeah, it's very snappy, very quick, and this is how I described it to somebody when we were racing Forza. He's like, hey, can you even buy the X yet? And I was like, I'm looking at mine right now. And he goes, oh, really? You have it? And I was like, oh, yeah. And he asked how it was. And basically, this is what I said. I said, really, the only way I can describe it is currently, because of just the way it is right now, there's no specific games for it or anything. Right now, it feels like the difference between going 80 miles an hour in a Civic or going 80 miles an hour in like a BMW M5. Like, they can both go 80 miles an hour. Even the Civic can do 80 miles an hour, relatively no problem. But I can just tell that the console is just extremely powerful and capable, and that it's not doing anything near what it's capable of doing. That it's just completely destroying whatever I'm throwing at it, and there's nothing I can do to slow it down or whatever. And that's just because. What the heck was that just fell there? You can just tell that it's very capable console, and it's just it's not breaking a sweat. I'll just say that. And it's good. It's super quiet, and it's pretty fast. The transfer. So one of the issues that I've had with my One X is I bought just a traditional SSD, like a SATA SSD, not an NVMe SSD. It's just a SATA SSD. I bought that for game storage, and that was so that I could have faster storage, because I just wanted to improve the loading times and stuff like that. And that's been really good. But the funny thing is that there's a limit on the One X. It's only using a SATA 2 interface, which is SATA 3 has been a standard for like years, like 8 years or something, or 9 years, and somehow that's still on SATA 2. So I haven't even been getting the full bandwidth of the SSD that I've been using just for games. Even though I do get an improvement, I haven't been using the full bandwidth of that yet, because the Xbox is not physically capable of that. So one of the first things I did was I transferred Black Ops Cold War, which is pre-downloaded right now. I transferred that from my SSD to the internal, and it was so fast, it was unbelievable. It was 85 gigabytes or something like that, and it transferred in like 3 minutes, which is pretty fast. We're talking, it was doing like 70 or 80 or megabytes per second, which is that's pretty fast. So yeah, it was transferring super fast, took no time at all, and then I did some other stuff, but anyway, so I got in here, played this, and got this win, which was absolutely unbelievable. And then I raced on Forza for a long time, and it's definitely, it's just, at this point, we're just playing we're just playing games that already exist. There's no new games for it right now, so it's hard to know the capabilities of it. But like I said, in my analogy, the best way I can describe it is it feels like this thing is not even trying, and I was throwing a lot at it. But again, as you can see, I'm doing a lot of these like right, left, kind of like jerking movements, like far right, far left, because it just feel like on the stick, because it just feels good. It just feels smooth, and I was just trying to picture whether or not it was 120 frames or not. And I couldn't find any information on it, so I don't know. I'm sure we'll find out in the coming days, but for now, whatever it was, it felt ridiculously good, and it got me a win. And yeah, I don't know, it was crazy. And so this is where I was starting to sweat a little bit. I could tell that, I was one of the few left, and I really wanted to maintain this high ground for as long as I could. And, it's not like I don't know how to play Battle Royale, because I played so many hours of it. It's I know how to play it, but it's not fun. It's not fun, and I don't like the walking looting simulator only to lose, like, really, a lot later and just get screwed over for no reason or whatever. So this was fun. And yeah, so I know there's something going on around me. I'm trying to make sure I'm clear, and you can't really see the gas all that clearly, so I'm kind of trying to see where my limits are here, see if I can get out of either one of these without getting damaged. And I don't know how much damage I take from the gas at this stage, even though I do have a gas mask. So now I heard these guys fighting over here, obviously, and I wanted to jump quickly. And I figured he was in these bushes, but I couldn't see him. And then I saw him move right there, and I just lit him up. I was trying to reload and I grabbed something on accident. So that was that. And then there's just a couple of us left. And that was funny. The guys were actually really nice at the end of this. The guy was saying that. He's like, I can't believe you got that snipe before he got killed. And I laughed. And once I realized he was talking to me, I laughed and just said, oh, man, that's crazy. I said, I got so lucky. That was my first win. And they're like, really? That was your first win? I was like, yeah, in Warzone. And he's like, oh, congrats, man. And I thought, that's cool. You know, somebody was actually being nice for a change. And so there we go. So I didn't see him there. I still don't see him, even though he's actually exposed right there. And now he's behind that rock. And oh, man. See, now I see him, and watch how close this is. Boom. Boom. Look at that explosion at my feet. Wow, that was crazy. Wow. Wow. So I couldn't believe that I won. It was crazy. My heart was pounding. It was not the greatest win. I mean, it was 7 kills, but I'll take it. You know, for 150 people, I'll take it while they all get to sit here and watch me get extracted in a helicopter and see my gamer tag. I'll take it. So, anyway, the console is awesome, guys. The console is awesome. I mean, you're probably not going to be able to really tell anything from this video as far as what it looks like or anything, but trust me when I say, I don't even know that it can really look that much better, but it's so smooth, and it just is so stable and rock solid. And the dashboard is extremely snappy and extremely responsive feeling, and it feels like what the dashboard always should have been from the beginning with the Xbox One. But you push a button and it does it. You click here, it goes there, everything. So it's awesome so far, and hope you guys are enjoying yours. If you have one, can't wait to share more with you about it. Thanks for being here, guys. Take it easy.